So lovely to see you all. Good morning, everybody, and a very, very happy new year to you all. Hoping you've all had a fabulous beginning to your 2025, and a huge welcome to our January Includability Employer Support Group. As ever, if this is your first time with us on an Includability ESG, then a huge welcome to the family. It's wonderful to have you with us this morning. And of course, to all of our returning community, it's just brilliant to be by your side as ever. Once again, we have an extraordinarily inspirational lineup of three fabulous guest speakers for you across the next hour to help inspire you on your journey in creating a healthier and a more inclusive workplace culture for your business. I'm delighted to be joined by the wonderful Hannah Kirtland, founder of B Corp Consultancy Kirtland and Co., the wonderful Alex Manners, neurodiversity and autism speaker, and the fabulous Cara Wheatley McGrain, founder of The Mindful Gut. Please forgive me. We were also due to have the brilliant Scarlett Marie Davey Morgan with us this morning to share how, as a business, we can support a transitioning colleague. Sadly, Scarlett can't be with us, but she sends all of her love and best wishes. And we're hoping we'll be able to bring her back for our March ESG. She's absolutely amazing, and you'll love her. Please do, of course, take a moment to introduce yourselves on the chat feed, should you be happy to do so. We have an extraordinary and rapidly growing community here at Includability, which you are all part of. And it's a community that is superb at facilitating great introductions. So please do tell us about your world, what you do, your upcoming events, how we can support you, and how we can celebrate your business. We absolutely love shouting about the incredible work of our Includability community. We'll also be sharing a number of links in the chat feed over the course of the next hour. Chris, our lovely comms manager, will as ever be dropping Includability Gold into the chat feed, upcoming events, celebration days, resource links, video links, and of course supporting with any questions you might have during the ESG itself. And whilst, of course, we'll have a number of our brilliant Includability committed employers already with us this morning, if you would be interested in finding out a little bit more as to how your company can certify as an Includability committed employer and the support that we can provide through our verification process, the reporting and the member benefits, then please don't hesitate to drop a message to James, our marketing director, or of course to myself. We'd be delighted to help to guide you through those next steps and of course to answer any questions that you might have. Anyway, enough chat from me. Now for our first brilliant guest speaker, I'm delighted to introduce the wonderful Hannah Kirtland, founder of B Corp Consultancy Kirtland and Co., board advisor, TEDx speaker, and our resident impact partner expert. Hannah, it's so lovely to see you as always, and the virtual floor is yours.
Amazing. Thank you. And hi, everybody. Let me just pull up my slides so that I am ready to go.
Hannah, if I've accidentally hit a wrong button, just shout
No,
at me and
you
let me know.
haven't. No, I'm just trying to find the right window to share. There we go. Hopefully, can you see that? Yeah.
Perfect. Hannah, we've got you. Thank you. Lovely.
Brilliant. Thank you. Super. So, I've met some of you before, but some of you don't know me. So I thought I would just start by talking a little bit about what Kirtland and Co. does before we kind of get into the meat of this. So in terms of what we do, we work with business leaders who want to make a meaningful difference on the world through their business. And they've usually started on that journey. So like lots of you here, they've often done some of the kind of more easy, obvious things, and now they're stuck. And they're looking for help to scale up their impact and engage their whole team in doing that. So we work with those businesses to scale up their impact. And we help them to create a framework for all of their impact activities so that they're clear on the difference they want to make in the world and how they're going to do that. And that framework enables them to develop an actionable roadmap that gives them clarity on what steps to take to scale up their impact and engage the whole business in that journey. And it also enables them, that framework enables them to communicate their impact in a really cohesive, joined up way. And so that includes helping businesses to report on their impact journey and the progress they're making through an impact report. Anyway, enough about me and about Kirtland and Co. What I really want to talk to you about today is marble runs. So I bet that wasn't what you were expecting. This here is quite a simple marble run. So what I'd like you to do, I want you to imagine that you are playing with this marble run. You're going to pick up that marble in your fingers and you're going to drop it into the big orange dish at the top. Now the marble might spin around the dish for a little bit before it drops through the hole in the bottom and lands with a little clatter in the blue channel below. Maybe it bounces a little bit. Now, as you can see, that blue piece is just tilted gently downwards. So that marble is going to start accelerating down through the run into the yellow section, round that corner, and then back into the blue for the tight bends that are going to take it towards the finish. And the important thing is that marble always ends up in the same place. Why? Well, because that's how the pieces are put together. It's the structure that's being created. They guide the marble and they tell it where to go. Now, what's all that got to do with business? Well, in business, we have in place lots of different structures and processes, some of them formal, some of them informal. And these are set up and they're optimized to deliver a certain outcome or set of outcomes. So, for example, they might have been set up to deliver profit at all costs, short-term financial returns that ignore any negative impacts on people or the environment. They might not be as extreme as that, but the priority might still be financial returns. And then we come along, people like all you lovely people here today, and we're trying to deliver different outcomes. So, for example, outcomes that are mindful of environmental impact, or trying to reduce carbon emissions, or outcomes that are more inclusive or kind or focused on well-being. But the system isn't set up to deliver those outcomes. We want that marble to finish somewhere else, but it still keeps ending up in the same place because that's how the marble run has been built. And so we can feel like we're having to push really, really hard to create change, or like we're trying to get that marble to kind of go uphill and go over the barriers and try and end up somewhere different. And that's because the underlying structures and processes in the business haven't changed. So let's think about responsible business, sustainability, DEI activities that are taking place within your business. What are you working on at the moment? Now, I like to use the analogy of an iceberg, and I call this the impact iceberg. And a lot of the time, businesses are working on the really visible above the water activities. So that could be things like installing recycling bins, or planting trees, giving to charity, hosting an International Women's Day lunch, doing some social media posts during Pride Month. Now, these activities are visible. They often generate some nice PR, and they're relatively easy to do. But if you want to make real, meaningful difference and generate different outcomes in your business, then a lot of what matters sits deep below the surface. And you need to work on changing those deep structures and processes within the business. So the structure of your marble run that determines where the marble ends up, the outcomes. Now, working on these things isn't going to be as easy. It's not going to be as visible as the easier, kind of more PRable above the water activities like recycling bins or planting trees or giving to charity, but they are absolutely crucial when it comes to embedding sustainability, responsible business impact within your business. So let me give you some examples. What do I mean when I talk about these under the water sort of structural process, deep things within your business? So it could be things like how you make decisions, who's involved in making those decisions, the controls you've got in place to reduce risk, how roles, responsibilities, and accountability are structured and set out, performance management and compensation. And I think this gets really interesting, especially at the executive level. You know, how are you deciding how your, exec team are compensated? That's going to have a huge impact on the outcomes that are being delivered. The metrics you're reporting on, the policies and the processes you've got in place. So that could be around recruitment, it could be around procurement, all those different policies and processes. What are they telling people to do? If you want to make a really meaningful difference and enable your business to deliver different outcomes, then you have to focus on changing these sorts of things, because working on these will really unlock impact within your business. Now, we've not got time to cover it today, but I'm happy to have a chat with anyone afterwards. I've got a diagnostic which I use, which assesses the extent to which you've got these sort of often invisible but totally essential impact enablers in place. And that is often a starting point when we work with businesses and start to think about what do they need to work on to have an impact and to create that roadmap for change. Now, why do I care about all of this so much? Well, my vision is that it becomes the norm for businesses to integrate positive impact into what they do and how they do it. So we move from responsible business, impact, sustainability, DEI, being a kind of bolt-on on the side of the business, separate to the core business, and nice to have a compliance tick box exercise, something that gets deprioritized really easily. We move away from that and we move to a point where impact is integrated into the whole business. So into what it does, into how it does it every single day. So, the products and services it provides, who it provides them to, the decisions it makes, the way it treats its employees and all its other stakeholders, how it chooses to invest its money, the suppliers it chooses to work with, etc., etc. It is integrated with all those things rather than being that little yellow box stuck on the side of the business. And why does this even matter? Well, I want to live in a world that looks like this. Fresh air everywhere, rivers that run clear and clean, where there's nutritious food for everyone. Farmers are treated fairly. There's peace. Diversity is embraced and everyone is included and feels valued. Animals and ecosystems are safe from human destruction. And everyone is and feels safe. I believe that businesses play a really crucial role in delivering and creating this sort of world, a world that's sort of peaceful, healthy, fair, and prosperous. And conversely, if businesses don't change, then we don't stand a chance of achieving this sort of world. Now, many businesses have made commitments or they've created sustainability or responsible business plans that aren't translating into the action at the pace that's needed or at the level that's required. They're not substantially reducing their negative impact or increasing their positive impact. Their activity isn't actually making a meaningful difference, which is risking a world which can't sustain life as we know it. And yet I believe that if we make these really deep changes within business, we make those sort of deep structural changes, then that will enable the scale of change that we need to see. And so I would like to leave you with a question. After this session, please spend some time reflecting and asking yourself really honestly, are you working on the deep, below the surface, meaningful stuff, or are you just moving the deck chairs around on the top of the iceberg? Back over to you, Dave.
Hannah, thank you so much. Just brilliant and fabulous hot tips on how, as a business, we can really truly begin to change the systems and processes currently in place to enable impact. I love the way that you talked through the marble run and the iceberg analogy, and it really does bring it home as to how we can all be better. You're absolutely incredible. Thank you. And I know that we mentioned earlier that Hannah, of course, is a TEDx speaker. Chris has dropped that link into the chat feed. So please do give it a watch when you find a spare moment. It's an absolutely incredible watch. Hannah, thank you again. So wonderful to see you. And thank you for sharing all of your insights as ever. It's wonderful to be by your side as always.
Thanks,
And
Dave.
thanks, Hannah, and to you too. And now for our second guest speaker, I am delighted to introduce the brilliant Alex Manners, author of That's Not Right, My Life Living with Asperger's, speaker, presenter, and of course, one of our inspirational includability ambassadors. Alex, I'm thrilled you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. And the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, really excited to be back again, presenting another little talk for you all. So today I'm going to be talking all about how you can make your workplace more inclusive and more accessible. For people who don't know me, I'm Alex Manners. Yeah, as Dave said, I've written my own book. I'm a presenter, so I present talks to loads of different businesses, all about autism and Asperger's and what it's like to live with, to go to school with, to work with. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that I speak about in my talks, and how you can make a workplace more inclusive. I normally would share a screen, but I've decided not to today. So you'll just have to bear looking at me for the time being. So the first thing I'm going to mention is that I believe that all workplaces can be inclusive, and many of the things that might need changing or putting in place can be really easy and simple to actually implement. They won't cost anything to put in place. And you might find that actually some of the things that you put in place for someone who is neurodiverse or somebody that has autism, you might find actually is beneficial for people who are not neurodiverse or that do not have autism. So by making a workplace or an environment more accessible for people with autism, you're probably making that environment more accessible for people without autism as well. And I think that's one of the most important things to understand, is that the things that we need are not difficult or time consuming a lot of the time to put in place. I always say that one of the first things that you can always do is when you're employing somebody new is think about induction days. So I know for a lot of people with autism, having an induction day is really important because they can view the environment they're going to be working in before they actually start their job. And even if an induction day, is possible, then absolutely brilliant. But whether or not an induction day is possible, if someone is starting a job with your organization, then before they start that job, send them out as much information about the job as you possibly can, and photos of the environments that they will be working in. And I don't just mean photos of like the room or the office that they will actually be working in, but photos of like the front door to the office, the outside of the office, the toilets, the kitchen, any environment that that individual will be going in. Send them out photos so they can become as familiar as possible with those environments. Then when it actually comes to that individual working in your organization, how can you make your workspace more accessible? Well, one thing to do is adapt the environment to suit that individual's needs. So if somebody, for instance, doesn't like sitting by a window, then maybe they can have a desk further away from a window. If they don't like sitting near a radiator because it's making a loud noise and that's distracting them, then again, where possible, adapt the environment to suit that individual's needs. And it might just be the case of, one of my friends hated wearing ties because he felt like when he was wearing a tie, it was a noose around his neck. So the company just said to him, well, it's not really an issue if you don't wear a tie, so don't wear a tie. And that was absolutely massive, like for my friend. Didn't affect anybody else in the business, but for him, it made all the difference. So adapt the environment to suit each individual's needs is really, really important. Also, have a quiet space that individual can go to, but make sure the quiet space is the same quiet space all of the time. So if that individual does start to feel stressed or they just need 5 minutes to themselves, they know exactly where they can go to. And another thing that's always worked for me that I found really beneficial is having somebody that I can speak to at any one or any moment that a problem arises or I need someone to talk to. Now, for a lot of people, especially if they're starting in a new job or in a new role, or they're new to your company, they may not feel comfortable yet in actually speaking to people about their diagnosis, or they may not feel comfortable in opening up to people. But in that instance, maybe they can speak to somebody on the phone, like a family member or a friend. But having that one individual who you can speak to when a worry or a concern arises is just so, so important. And I know when I was younger, when I was in certain environments, having that person I could speak to stopped me from bottling everything up until I went home. So that's really important. Also, think about schedules and timetables. Now, change can be something that's really difficult for people with autism to cope with. So I always say, if there's a change that needs to be implemented, think about whether that individual with autism, or whether it's essential for that individual with autism to carry out that change, because it might be more beneficial, where possible, to allow that individual to carry on with that particular task or in that particular environment in the same way that they have been doing previously. However, if a change is really important, then I always say break those changes up into smaller incremental changes. So instead of that individual with autism having this one big change that they have to cope with, they then will have 3 or 4 smaller changes that they can carry out in a certain time frame. so it's less impactful to them. So where change is, concerned, just think about the changes that individual will have to go through and whether you can split those changes up into smaller incremental changes. Then think also about language and any questions that you're asking that individual. So, for example, if you wanted that individual to give everyone in the office a printout or something that you wanted to give them, instead of saying, or say you've got something that you want that individual to photocopy and give to every individual member of the team, instead of saying, can you give everyone a photocopy? It would be much better to say, will you give everyone a photocopy by the end of the week? Because if you just said, can you give everyone a photocopy? Then yes, we physically can, but we probably won't because you haven't actually asked us to do it. And you haven't even given us a time frame for when you want us to complete that task by. So we won't understand your question. So instead say, will you give everyone a photocopy by the end of Friday? So we then know that you want us to give everybody in that team a photocopy by the end of Friday. So just think about the questions you're asking. And I always say, ask one question at a time. So instead of amalgamating 2 or 3 questions into one, break those questions up into smaller, specific questions so that individual will understand. And when it comes to language, try and avoid using things like idioms and phrases that we don't understand. If you told someone with autism to take a seat, then they will probably think that you want them to actually physically take that chair home with them. So just think about the language you're using and try and be as clear and precise as you possibly can with not just the language that you're using, but also with the questions that you're asking someone, all the tasks that you want someone to do, make sure they're really, really clear. And we may have questions about the tasks that you want us to do. And to you, they may seem really obvious or silly questions, but to us, there'll be questions that we're really confused about or things that we really don't know. So however unusual or obscure our questions may be, we just want to find out as much information as we can about a particular job so that we can do it to the best of our abilities. Now, I always say, another really important thing is promoting awareness for different disabilities, because if you weren't promoting awareness for different disabilities, whether that's a physical disability or a hidden disability like autism, many people may not apply for jobs with you because they may not think that you're an inclusive company. So by promoting awareness on your social media pages and your website, it may encourage people to apply for jobs with you who may not have applied for a job with you in the past. And also, if you're creating awareness within your workspace and within your company, then individuals who may not have felt comfortable in disclosing their diagnosis may then start to feel comfortable in actually disclosing their diagnosis because they know how inclusive the company is. And by doing so, they may then be able to get the help and support that they need that previously they may not have been able to access purely because nobody in the company knew that they needed any help or they had that diagnosis. And the last thing I'm going to mention is bringing special interests into work. So a big thing for me is, or a big special interest of mine is football, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And whenever I'm talking about football or there is something to do with football, a lot of the barriers I have around communication are completely broken down, and I feel so much more comfortable in certain environments. So people always say, how come you become so stressed in a shopping center when at a football stadium with thousands of people and loads of noises, you're absolutely fine? And I always say that when I'm in a football stadium, I'm in my happy place. So all of the noises and sounds around me don't worry me or affect me as much as they would if I was in a different environment. And when somebody's speaking to me about autism, I feel so much more relaxed. So I always say, where possible, allow that individual to bring in their specialist interest or the things that they're really, really interested in, whether that's something they can read, something they can take if they need 5 minutes to focus on. But someone's specialist interest can really, really help them in work. And especially if they were in a meeting, relating any questions back to that individual specialist interest will often help them to actually understand a question or answer a question. So bringing someone's special interests into the work that they're doing can be really, really beneficial. And those are just a few ways that you can make your workspace really, really inclusive and make sure that each individual is supported and can work to the best of their abilities. So I really hope you can take something away from that. And thank you very much for having me back to share my insights.
Alex, thank you so much. Honestly, that was absolutely incredible. And I mean, Alex is wonderful. He's presented to companies, to law firms, to universities and charities, both in the UK and internationally. So please do get in contact with Alex if you would like him to speak at your next event. Um, I know that Chris is just popping links and contact details into the chat feed now, as well as a link to Alex's brilliant football documentary. It's called Football, Autism and Me, and it charts Alex's passion for the game and his incredible quest to watch a match at all 92 Football League clubs. It's an incredible watch, and Alex, forgive me, just before we kind of go on to the next section, I mean, I love you, and we get to have the most amazing conversations around football. As a Tottenham fan, it brings great pain because we're obviously going through a very, very tough time at the moment. But tell us a little bit more about the documentary, if you're happy to do so, in terms of charting that progress of visiting all 92 league grounds. How long did that journey take? Was it a challenge? Because I know it's such a passion for you.
Yeah, so for me, I've actually now completed watching a match at all 92 Football League rounds. And I think it took me around 12 years to complete. And it was only when I was on about sort of ground number 30 that my uncle said, oh, some people make it a lifelong ambition to visit all 92 grounds. And it was like a light bulb going off my head. And I thought, wow, I really need to do this. So my uncle and me did it together. So it was an amazing achievement because I was only, I think, 22 at the time when I completed it. So the documentary is all about me doing the 92 grounds and how football has actually helped me to cope with challenges that I've faced as a result of my autism. And more broadly, why I am so obsessed with football because, you know, I've got like 200 football shirts. I support 4 football teams. So I'm probably more obsessed with football than your average football fan.
Alex, I love that. And there's a wonderful moment in the documentary where you're talking through it and you're showing this incredible display. I know there's like an Isle of Man shirt in there as well. Some incredible clubs, sort of UK and internationally. Beautiful, bright, engaging colours, and to have that collection is absolutely fantastic. I've got a very moody Spurs shirt, I think from the early 80s, that has definitely seen better times and better days. Um, but I think you're absolutely incredible. Alex, thank you again for all of your time and for sharing your wisdom. I love listening to you, and it's just a joy to have you on ESG always. So thank you so much for being with us. It's fabulous to see you again, as always. And now, just before I introduce our next guest speaker, we would love you to vote for a charitable project that we can support on your behalf this morning through our partnership with B1G1. They are a brilliant global giving platform that support hundreds of charitable projects, both in the UK and internationally, all positively impacting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So, as ever, you're doing an incredible thing for the planet simply by being awesome and hanging out with us this morning. Chris is going to drop these options into the chat feed now. Three amazing high impact community projects for you to choose from. And simply pop the letter of your chosen project into the feed. Project A, Project B, or Project C. Project A is providing access to clean water to families in Cambodia. Project B is planting trees for forest protection in India. And Project C is gifting 5 textbooks to disadvantaged children in Kenya. Three incredible projects to choose from. So please do cast your votes A, B, or C in the chat feed. We'll take account and we'll support that project on your behalf. And as you cast your votes, I'm delighted to introduce our final guest speaker for this morning, the amazing Cara Wheatley McGrain. Cara's amazing. She's literally just landed onto the ESG. So, Cara, please forgive me. You not even had the chance to have a lovely cup of tea, but you are phenomenal. We're so thrilled that you're here. She's founder of The Mindful Gut. She's a coach, she's a speaker, and author of the brilliant Calm Your Gut as well. Cara, it's fabulous to have you with us as always, and the virtual floor, when you're comfortable, is yours. Oh, Cara, forgive me. I think you might be on mute.
Someone has to be. Someone has to
It's
be.
normally me. It's normally me. I'm just so thrilled you're here.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you
bless
so
you.
much, Dave. Okay,
Cara,
now you
lovely
can
to
all
see
hear
you.
me. Thank you for that very kind introduction. So I've just landed, so I've missed the first part, and I hope you've all had a lovely start. I'm sure you have in Dave's very capable hands. So lovely to see you all this morning. I'm really mindful that we're still in January, aren't we? We're still just in the tail end of January, the last couple of days of our brand new year, quarter of a century, 2025. And I'm really curious about how your New Year's resolutions have been going. Have you set any New Year's resolutions? Have you continued any New Year's resolutions? Because often people do, we have like health goals we might be doing, changes in our diets we might want to keep. It's interesting. Please put in the chat if you have been doing something, because I'm really curious. I'd like to hear. And what often happens is kind of the end of January going into February, we all get a little bit like our energy drops off. It's these dark mornings, and we don't continue, do we? We don't keep those up. So I was thinking, I knew I was on this call today, and I was thinking, what would be the most useful thing to inspire you around your health and well-being, and in particular your gut health this year? And I was talking to my husband on the way to work, was having a chat and going, he's Dave as well, Dave. And of course, he came up with some great suggestions. And I said, the thing about me is I want to change everything. I'm so passionate. I'm a gut geek at heart. So I want to change everything. But I was thinking, what would be the most simple thing to talk about in terms of transforming your relationship with your gut? Because that's actually what I really care about. And he suggested one of the things he really notices in his workplace is what we drink at work. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So I'm really curious about what we are drinking in our everyday with our gut health. What are we drinking? Are we having a lot of coffee? And coffee, actually, I'll share with you, coffee can be really good for your gut microbiome, for those little tiny bacteria. There's a lot of research around the health benefits of coffee, interestingly, as long as we don't have too much caffeine. And then we were talking about, and then I was thinking about, but if you have the latte with the sugar and the syrup and the everything, that isn't so good for your gut. Oh my word, less bread. Dave, I'm liking it. Less bread, less, but you're okay. We've talked about gut health before. But also, what about, so I've got a prop with me. Okay, Stephen, my New Year's resolution has been drink more water. Oh my God, okay, and meditation. Okay, I'm loving this, Stephen. We're going to go there. I've got a prop with me. I bought this, I'm actually in a college today, and I bought this in the college canteen. You're going to recognize those lovely colors, and you'll see this. And it could be any brand. I've just happened to pick up this one. And I was just looking at the list of ingredients, and this is a diet product, obviously, rather than a full sugar product. But these things, this is where a lot of our calories come from when we're actually thinking about either losing weight or getting healthier. These little darlings, the drinks that we drink, the lattes, the sugary syrups, the fizzy drinks. Okay, Joanna's on the probiotic low sugar yogurts. Good, thumbs up, Joanna. And I think there's something about the way that we look at what we're drinking, which can be a really interesting way into our gut health. Alex, you're a man after my own heart, talking about intermittent fasting. I can say a bit more about that with time. Inspirational. But I want to just talk about those drinks. And what if you notice sometimes when you have those sugary drinks that you get that, and some people say, I need an energy lift, I need to feel it, I want a bit of energy, and they go up, we get that high, don't we? And then we get the crash, and then we go down. So I was going to talk to you about some simple, sustainable changes you could make with your drinks. Really simple things you could do. So if this time of year we want hot drinks, but we could have hot water with a slice of lemon, We could have a bit of fresh lime if we don't like just having plain water. We could also have our beautiful herbal teas. So here I am, we've been doing a lot of peppermint tea. I've been introducing peppermint and mint tea to some of the students I've been working with. It's a revelation. They're loving it. Either the ones in the little tea bags or the fresh mint. You can grow it yourself as well. So all of these are like super, super simple swaps for just going for the classic tea, the builder's tea, of course. We might want one of those in the morning, or for the coffee, just swapping out with those hot waters, with the fresh tea bags, the herbal teas, the green teas. I mean, green tea is a brilliant polyphenol rich, we would call it, beautiful for those gut microbes, really health, anti-inflammatory as well. So I wanted to just kind of get you thinking about what calories are you drinking, what sugar are you drinking hidden away in the drinks that you might have every day, and also what could be those simple swaps that you could make. Really beautiful way in to thinking about a simple, sustainable change, because I think January is all about keeping things simple. And then actually a lot of our drinks can actually be secretly what we call a UPF. I'm not talking about UFOs, I'm talking about UPFs. A lot of us have heard of UPFs now. So not an unidentified flying object, but what we would call effectively an unidentified food. It's an ultra processed food. And an ultra processed food, and I would categorize this as one, is actually where we could kind of say that the elements that are real food that we recognize that comes from the ground, from the sea, that you pull off a tree, that food has been changed so much, has been modified so much, that actually we could now call it fake food. I'm going to give you an example. Again, I've got another prop with me. So I've brought with me today a lovely potato. This is a single ingredient food. Potato, we all know this, comes out of the ground. It's actually wrapped in fiber. Lovely skin is really high in fiber, high in vitamin C, high in potassium. These are brilliant, actually, just as they are. Obviously, you can't eat them raw. We need to prepare them in some way. This is a potato. But what happens when we take off, maybe peel it, we start to slice it up, we start to fry it in high fats, we add some emulsifiers, salt, different products into it, it becomes, I have another prop, it becomes this. It becomes this. It becomes a crisp. Now this becomes a kind of UFO, a UPF. There's still some of this in it. I wonder how much. There's still some of this in this product. But actually the good stuff, the fiber, the package of fiber, the beautiful vitamin C, the potassium, all those lovely micro ingredients that we need have kind of got changed to such a degree that we're actually not getting those health benefits. And it becomes, okay, maybe a bit more tasty, depending on how you prepare this. This could be more tasty, more appealing. It's packaged up. But actually, it's got so many other ingredients in it that are not good. This is a sad news, not good for us. And in particular, not so good for our beautiful gut microbes. And I'm passionate about our gut microbes. I sometimes refer to it as our gut garden. And this is something that we don't often think about. I mean, gut health is becoming a bit of a hot topic at the moment. There's more and more talk about it in the last few years. But we don't often necessarily think about what's going on inside our lovely digestive system. I mean, how often do you think about it? So I want you just to have a think for a moment about what you had for breakfast. I hope you've had breakfast. We're 9 minutes past 11. So Alex, you're on intermittent fasting at the moment. You might be having a late breakfast, but maybe I just want you to think about what you've had for breakfast. Have a little think. What did you drink? Because I'm including what you've been drinking. And what did you eat? And how good for your lovely gut and for your health and for your energy levels was what you've eaten? Just take a moment to think about that. Because if you've got that sugar high and then you have the crash, you're probably at that point when you're coming down that slope and you're kind of losing energy and you think, I need a mid-morning snack. If you've had a sugary, if you've had your crunch nut cornflakes or something like that, you might be thinking, I need something else now. I need that kind of mid-morning kind of dip. I need to eat something else. So just think, and some of you might actually be very much. I've just seen Nikki looking like she was drinking something really beautiful and hydrating there, Nikki. It looked good. Maybe there was some lemon in there or something. I'm not quite sure. But if you're having something hydrating and you're having something that supports your energy and your focus, so maybe you've had some lovely wholemeal bread, maybe you've had some protein to start the day, you're probably feeling pretty good. I'm looking at Dave and I'm guessing you've had a good breakfast today, Dave, because you look like you've got the good energy going on. You're probably gonna say something. Do you want to share? What did you
Oh,
have for breakfast?
Cara, I stole some of my youngest daughter's breakfast, so I had 3 Farley's rusks. It's terrible, isn't it? I'm ashamed of myself. So
I wasn't
ashamed.
expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. Not quite sure what to do with that, but I'm kind of guessing there was lots of fiber in there, probably plenty of calcium, probably packed with fortified with lots of minerals. So I think that's probably why you've got a glint in your eye. You're probably
Oh,
absolutely
I love you for that so much.
right. So I'm going to complete in a moment, but what I would just say is when you're thinking about the food that you're eating, is it adding to your energy levels, like really? Or is it actually depleting your energy levels? How is it making you feel? And my other top tip for that sustainable change is all around what you are drinking. Think about keeping hydrated and keeping that lovely sharp focus. And that's my completion. Thank you, Dave. Absolute joy to be here this morning.
Oh my word. Cara, you are absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Apart from the appalling shame of me just a few moments ago, thank you. You are incredible. Cara essentially is the ultimate personal cheerleader, and she achieves the most phenomenal results for her clients from all walks of life. So please do visit her website that will be popping up in the chat feed now. Cara, thank you again. So inspirational and massively appreciate all of your time and your knowledge. Thank you for sharing that with us this morning. You are wonderful. And finally, our hot date for your diaries is our next employer support group. That will be happening on Wednesday, the 26th of February, same time, 10:30 a.m., where we'll be hosting 3 more fantastic guest speakers. Annie Abelman, the multi-award winning founder of Mentor Mums, Tanya Popow, former UN consultant and sustainability powerhouse, and the incredible Saskia, official Pride host and LGBTQ plus inclusion consultant. Plus, we'll have an update from our very own James Bravato on the range of additional benefits that have been created for you to support your journey with includability in 2025. So please do join us. We'd love to see you there. That registration link will be going into the chat feed for you now. Chris, thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of our ESG this morning. What an incredible one it's been, and we really hope you've enjoyed it. A huge thank you to our brilliant guest speakers, to Hannah, Alex, and Cara. What unbelievable legends you all are. Thank you for all of your insights and for sharing your wisdom with us today. And from James, Chris, and myself, and the whole team at Includability and Disrupt Agency, a huge thank you to every single one of you for joining us this morning. So until we all meet again next month, please let's keep working in partnership to develop that mentally healthy and inclusive workplace culture. Can't wait to see you all in February. Love to you all and have an incredible rest of your week. Take good care, everyone.